Welcome into another week of Tribe Talk here today. First segment brought to you by Joe's Hack and Quack Barber Shop, talking with the head football coach of the Clarke Indians, Duane Matthess. Coach, good morning. And always a tough Saturday coming off a loss, and this one in district play hurts just a little bit more.
Yeah, thanks for being here, Damon. Appreciate it. Yeah, you always want to start off the district play 1-0. Unfortunately, last night Centerville was better than us, falling 41-0. But it's they were a physical team, and and we found that out yesterday. So our kids are pretty sore coming in today. But it's one thing that re-energizes us as a staff is, even though it's not the outcome that any of us had hoped for yesterday, all the kids that are supposed to be here are here. I mean, so that's encouraging. It shows it's a testament to their character and their attitudes, and we're not willing to kind of pack up the bags at this point. The kids still have a lot of fight left in them.
41-0 loss to Centerville last night, and again a slow night offensively for you guys, putting up points, but trying to turn the corner on the offensive side of the ball is going to take a little bit of time with the new system. Talk to us about the offensive side of the ball last night.
Well, I mean, I'm gonna I'm gonna focus on some of the positives. Turnovers were down. We had less than 5, so that's a positive. And our snaps were much better. Had a couple bad ones, but that's down from where we've been at for the first couple games. So I think that we're finally starting to understand that aspect of it. And so and we at times were moving the ball, and we're going to struggle this year, and this is why, I know the players are probably tired of hearing me say this, but this is a perfect example of why we have to attack the weight room, during the off season, year round, because physically, strength wise, we're going to run into some teams that are just going to overpower us. And last night, holes were there. They just closed really quick, and Jonathan was getting hit, a yard behind the line of scrimmage by multiple players. I mean, he's banged up today, but he's a little sore, but there's no quitting him.
And you guys move forward after that on the offensive side of the ball. Talk a little bit about some individual performances on the offensive side, some guys that might have done some things here or there that helped you out a little bit. But obviously, with not putting up the point totals that you guys would like to, it's tough to find an individual that kind of stands out as far as that goes.
Well, Jonathan Bear ran the ball hard. I mean, one of our players on the sideline, this is not a long run. I think it was around 6 or 7 yards, and he looked at me. He's like, he runs just like his brother, and I wasn't here for Nathan Bear, but I seen him on film, and he was hard, didn't stop, just he ground and pounded it out, and I'm sure Jonathan would take that as a compliment. So that was him most of the night, and he actually took a hard shot where they kind of, tackled his helmet a little bit. There was a flag on the play, so he ended up having to come out for a little bit in the first half. But he came back at it in the second half, and kept on grinding. So a lot of credit goes to Jonathan. Also, I would say Connor Deutsch, offensively, he doesn't get a lot of touches, but when John went down, he popped back to tailback, and he did some good things. And he's sometimes, I think his height or lack of height is a benefit to him, because he gets behind those linemen and sometimes he's hard to kind of sniff out there. So, and those guys are those two that I mentioned there. I mean, they're just one of many on our team that just don't complain about it, and even regardless what the score is, they still line up and play hard every single play. And we have a lot of those guys on our team, and again, I can't say enough. I mean, about we're not a very deep team. We don't have a lot of size, but we have a lot of fight, and I couldn't be more prouder of our players than I am. The fact that they've made the choice to be here and be a part of the program, and we just got to continue to get better and learn from some of these things that we're doing by watching film and clean some things up, and we'll be okay.
Yeah, and you talked about someone telling you Jonathan runs like his brother Nathan. I can probably attest to running like all the Bear brothers that have touched the football and ran. Jacob ran just as hard as any of them did himself. So it is I think it just runs in the family. Is you've gotta go 100% with that ball in your hand and take everybody with you.
Yeah, I mean, and that's and I wish they had some more people in the litter kind of coming through, because that's a good problem to have. But Jonathan is a junior, so we'll have him for another year after this. So I told him to tell Dad and Mom that he's got maybe a couple steaks on the plate. And Coach Reese had about a heart attack when I told him that, because he's like, I want to keep him at a certain weight. I said no, he didn't. He thought it was a great plan. He's like, excuse me. He's like, he's probably have some more success at those higher weights. So in wrestling.
Segment number 1 on Tribe Talk, brought to you by Joe's Hack and Quack Barbershop. Segment number 2 of Tribe Talk is brought to you today by Osceola Dental Care, and Coach Matthess here with us. Talk to us now, Coach, on the defensive side of the ball. Obviously, another big output for the team on the opposite side for you guys, but defense starting to find a little bit of strides to make it, and trying to find some things that you guys can key on within practice and within the week, that you guys can start keying on, practice with, and get better as you guys get down through the season.
Yeah, and some of this is, 41-0 is not a pretty score by any means, defensively or offensively. Since I'm the offensive coordinator, I take a little bit more. You'd love to see more points scored. I mean, so it's hard not to sometimes personalize that. But, I think that, at times our offense didn't help our defense out by making them have to drive the whole field. So, offense has to bear some of that responsibility. But again, we had some guys flying around there. I think, right off the bat, Amani Fry, I think, led us in tackles. He also had a sack, and also almost had a deflected pass almost for an interception. So I mean, he's in the right position at times to make some great things happen. So again, Connor Deutsch played really well on defense, and Riley Domina, who was on the show last week, as well as, of course, and Jonathan Bear. So, I mean, those guys were pretty consistent defensive line-wise. And again, going against a bigger, stronger team, our defensive line kind of got washed away a little bit last night. And so, we need to come back, focused and prepared to have a better outing against Sheraton when it comes to, on both sides of the ball in the trenches, offensive line and defensive line. I felt like they kind of, took it to us a little bit last night, and, and that's, that just comes with, we also have, 4 freshmen playing at the varsity level. So it's easier to say as coaches, when we're not the ones playing. But as coaches, we've been in those situations too as players. And I tell our guys that, look, eventually you'll stop being the nail, and we'll get to be the hammer here. If you just stay with the program, stay with what we're trying to accomplish, and it's part of a process here. Mm-hmm. And I know it's kind of sometimes become cliche to hear that saying, trust the process, but there's truth in that. Mm-hmm. So and my hope is that these kids don't get frustrated and down on themselves, and that's on us too as coaches. We got to keep making sure that they're staying positive, and sometimes that's not always the easiest thing to do when you're on the the end of a 41-0 game. So and I told our kids this morning, excuse me, I said, look, game's over now, so we're on to Sheraton. So we'll use it as a learning tool. Stop hanging your heads about it. It's always good to have teachable moments, and that's what we'll take this one as. And I said, just put it in the back of their memories for whenever we play Centerville again.
And trusting the process kind of leads me into my next point. Talk to us a little bit about how difficult it is to change a culture that has been, traditionally down. I've been a part of the down years here, and a lot of people have. And how difficult is it to get to that next level and instill the mindset into these, not only just the players, but into the community and into the individuals that are watching your guys' game? How difficult is it to instill that we've got to change a culture with our mindset first?
Well, and Frank Martin, who's the basketball coach for South Carolina, he has when they had their run during the NCAA tournament, he made a great point. Kids really haven't changed all that much from when you played, Damon, when I played. Really, what I feel has changed is expectations and accountability by parents, and so that. When you're talking about changing the program or changing the culture, changing the program, I think where that starts is with parents. Mm-hmm. You need the kids to buy in, the players to buy in, and for the most part, players have bought in, and the ones that didn't want to buy in, aren't really a part of our program. And and for the most part, I got to tell you, our parents are an outstanding support group for our players. Our Thursday night suppers, and getting kids to practices and all that stuff. They do a fantastic job, and I love the fact that we really do have some great parents a part of our program. But there's it's always easy outside looking in kind of deal. Mm-hmm. And kind of, and we all do it in our lives in the sense of, I'm probably going to go home and watch, Iowa beat Iowa State today. And, I'm sure there's going to probably be some things on there I'm going to, see on TV. And, it's always easy to be that, armchair mm-hmm. quarterback kind of deal. And, you hear things, from the stands, hey, block better line and stuff. And it's because that's just what they see. Mm-hmm. But they don't know the, intrinsics that go, with, running a play or what's all gone into, none of these kids go out there trying to say, hey, I want to mess up.
Right.
It still doesn't make it easy when you see the mess up. Mm-hmm. It's still frustrating. Some of it's, lack of focus. Some of it's, maybe they're tired and, they've been playing, a large portion of the game. So, I think that that's something that we have to kind of keep in perspective at times. Again, I don't think I have any players on my or in my program that say, hey, I'm definitely going out here to mess up, to make coach or disappoint our fans, because we don't have those.
Right.
But I think back to your original question, Damon. Changing the culture and changing the program here isn't really that difficult to do. The biggest challenge to doing that is consistency.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and when you're consistent with your players and with the parents, and I mean, that goes a long way, I think. And I feel like I've been consistent, and that's my hope, is that I'll always be consistent. And there's been some things that have happened this year that I haven't been, real pleased about, in the sense of, players, having to face some consequences over, not making it to practice or lifting or something like that. And you hate to have to do that, but, it doesn't matter if that player, never sees a down on the field, or is a two-way starter and never comes off the field. You kind of have to say, like, look, there's no difference between you and the next person. Athletic ability, maybe. But everyone has a role on our team.
And quickly, before the segment fails here and falls out on us, you talked about the Iowa State game. No, you said you're going to pick Iowa. What's the final score going to be?
Boy, I think Iowa wins. I would say 23-10. 23-10.
Wow. All right. Well, I'm going the opposite way. It's going to be Iowa State, and it's going to be 24-21.
Oh, okay. All right.
Field goal ball game there.
Soda on that?
Yeah,
put a little wager?
That's fine.
All
That's
right,
fine. All right. It's a deal. You heard it here on Tribe Talk. And we're going to end segment number 2, brought to you by Osceola Dental Care. Coming up, we'll talk about upcoming game with Sheraton. The final segment of Tribe Talk, brought to you this week by Osceola Foods. And Tribe Talk, as always, on a Saturday, is coming at you with the head football coach of the Clarke Indians, Duane Matthess. And Coach, now after we pass Centerville and get moving on in the district play, here comes Sheraton. And we travel to Sheraton on Friday night, and another rivalry game, second rivalry game in the past 3 weeks, and Sheraton is down as far as last year. You picked up a victory last year against them, and now you bring in your system. What's it going to take to pull off a victory this week?
Yeah, it's always interesting, as new to these rivalry games. I understand that last year was the first year we played Sheraton, and probably like 6 years since we both left 3A. So, and last year we played here. It was our homecoming game, and we came out on top, 6-14. So, it's always good to have those. But really, that plays no bearing on this season. Our team is totally different from last year's team to this year's team. Not just in the departing seniors, but just, people who are no longer with the program. So, I think that, on paper, I think we match up pretty well with Sheraton, in the sense of, offensively, they're not going to probably be too different than us. Look, they run the pistol. They do a little bit more zone read, but we've seen that against Centerville. Centerville, one thing that's challenging about Centerville is, they throw a lot of different formations at you, mix it up a lot offensively. So, I think it'll be a nice change from that, in the sense of Sheraton is going to look a lot like us, and our guys practice against us all the time. So, I think that our matchup is good. It's comparable to on paper to both teams. So defensively, they'll come out in an odd front, probably a 5-2 look, and that's what we've seen on them from film. They may change it up and go with an even front. The nice thing is we've seen both so far. So so as far as that goes, it's exciting. Obviously second road game of the year for us. So we'll hit the road and try to bring back a W, our first one of the season here for the Tribe Nation, and and then obviously get ready for homecoming after that. But we're not thinking about that until we take care of business on Friday.
And Sheraton, like I said, your second rivalry game in the past 3 weeks. This one more of a bitter rivalry than anything here, as being in conference, seeing Sheraton in every sport that we compete in here at Clarke, and now getting them back on the football schedule just adds another aspect to this rivalry. I know we talked about it a couple weeks ago with Central Decatur and how that you've been a part of rivalries like that before. This one, nothing even easier than that. I mean, you got Sheraton, who is same size as you guys are, and it's going to be coming at you with what the running they will bring at you guys, and Sheraton, a big rivalry game for this, not just for the teams themselves and the schools, but for community to community.
Yeah, and those are fun things to be a part of. One thing that I'd like to get started here, and I know I've talked to Mr. Johnson about, is because that was one of the first things I asked. I said, who is our biggest rivalry? And it's hard with football because it's district play, and it's not conference play. I mean, so it can change from year to year. And he said, well, obviously, Central Decatur's up there, and he also mentioned Sheraton being up there as well. So I mean, those were probably he said the two biggest rivals that we have. And I talked about doing like a traveling trophy, making it a trophy game to kind of put something on the line. And so that's something that down the road I'd kind of like to get started, and start those traditions, and having that, if you won that trophy that whole week, the trophy goes with you out to the practice field, I mean, so it's present, and it kind of takes on a life of itself. But yeah, so hopefully we're able to get something going like that. But I'm as a newbie to the rivalry here with Sheraton, I'm excited to see the intensity that it brings, and I know that our players will rise to the challenge and meet that intensity head on.
That's Tribe Talk for this week, brought to you this segment by Osceola Foods, and every week by Joe's Hack and Quack Barbershop, Osceola Dental Care, and Osceola Foods here on Tribe Talk. Coach, final thoughts before we head into Friday's game?
Well, again, our challenge to our fans and supporters and parents. It was great seeing all you guys out there. It looked like you guys accepted the challenge that we put out there, and so I hope that you're able to bring it again this week against Sheraton on the road. I know not looking past that, homecoming week will be crazy, I'm sure, here for my first homecoming week here at Clarke with everything that goes on. But my focus is with Sheraton this week, as well as our kids, and I hope we can have a great showing there and make you guys proud. Because I know that I know this team and our players that are out here and within our program, deserve your unconditional support, and I think you guys have been great so far. So keep it up.
Thank you, Coach, as always, and that's Tribe Talk. Clarke travels to Sheraton Friday night.